Working on a Bally Kiss. This game came from my buddy Wiley probably 10 years ago. I had to do some minor upgrades to solenoid driver board up here to get the 5 volts up, and it was a little low. A couple of the jumpers, stuff we've covered in the past on this guy. But now to the bulk of the problem, what's really going on. Turn it on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it starts over. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's trying to boot, but it gets to the 7th flash, and then it just keeps rebooting over and over and over. So, you know, you can watch that LED. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it just starts over. It never actually lights up the score displays. It gets close, but no cigar. So that's what we got to fix. Alright, got the MPU board out. Here's a little trick. It constantly reboots. Right here, R134. It's a 4.7K resistor. Look, it's been resoldered. If this is out of spec, or there's a problem with it, it'll constantly reboot. So I'm gonna try and test this one-handed with my meter, if it's possible. So it's hard to do these things one-handed. There we go. And guess what? Nothing. So there's our problem. 4.7 ohm, 4.7K ohm. Get a new one of those. We're obviously not at the Kiss owner's place anymore. Instead, I brought the board home. There was a couple issues. For one, the board had all these closed frame auget sockets, and it just wasn't worth replacing them all at the guy's place. In addition to the constant reset that we were having, I just threw another board in that was jumpered for 2732 Kiss ROMs and brought his board home. It had a little bit of battery corrosion, not much. After I took the battery off of here, I could see there was a little bit, so I bead blasted it to clean it up. I did replace all the sockets. I converted the board from using the masked ROMs to it had 3 masked ROMs at U1, U2, and U6. I converted it to use just 2732s, just 2 of them, so it'd be 1 less socket that I had to convert, you know, or replace. What else I do? Oh, I put a new LED on because the old green one was so dim you couldn't see the initial flicker, and it was really hard just to see it flash. So now I've got it on my test fixture. That's this big goofy thing here in my workshop. And we can see if it's still doing the same thing, and I can guarantee you it probably is. But here we go. Flicker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you can see the flicker again. If you watch it, you can see the flicker again when it does the reset. Here, watch it again. There, you see it? And then it just keeps going through this whole reset cycle. So we still haven't fixed the problem. We break out the schematics. Obviously, the game, everything seems to be working because the game is making it through its initial flicker and 7 flashes. But the one thing that has to happen is something called the IRQ. I think has to end up high, I believe. But anyways, if we look at the IRQ, I know the IRQ can be responsible for the resets. We'll figure out what state it needs to be in a second. But if we look on the schematics at the 6800, which is the chip at U9, there's an IRQ line right here on pin 4, right by my thumb. So you got IRQ, and if you follow it through here, it goes off to that resistor R134 that we were talking about. Remember that? I replaced that 4.7K. If that resistor is bad, the IRQ will be bad. But then it branches up to pin 37 and 38 on the U10 PIA. And then it continues down to the U11 again at pins 37 and 38. So there's no other circuitry involved if you look at the schematic. It's just the U9 6800, the U10 PIA, and the U11 PIA. There's nothing else other than that one resistor, which we already replaced. So what could possibly be the problem? Well, it could be one of those three chips. It could be the U9 CPU or either the PIAs. Could be the issue, or their sockets. But we know it's not their sockets because we replaced the sockets. Traces could be broken on the board, so we can buzz them out to make sure that these all connect. I've already done that. Yes, they do all connect. So there's some other issue involved. Since I've given you this preemptive ramble about the IRQ and how it is necessary in the boot up process, let me explain how it should work. When you power the game on, the IRQ should go high, which means it should go to 5 volts. Then around flash 4 of the LED, it should go low. Then for flash 4, 5, 6, 7, it should be low. But then at the end of flash 7, it should go high again and stay high. And then that tells the board that everything's booted up correctly, and away we go. We're in a track mode. So let's watch what this guy is doing. Watch the flashes, watch the meter, and we'll see what it does. So you see there, it's not really high. It's at 3.5 volts. And then we get to the 4th flash, it goes low, but then it doesn't ever come back up. And then so then the whole process just repeats. And notice the IRQ is staying low. It's not even coming to the 3.5 volts. So this is not behaving correctly. So we know we have an IRQ problem. Because again, start over again. As soon as I turn it on, it should go high. It's not. 3.5 volts is not considered high. Flash 4-ish, it should go down to like it is, low. And then at flash 7, it should go high again. And notice it never goes high. And we're in this infinite loop where the IRQ is always low. So what does this mean? Well, it means we definitely have an IRQ problem, but what is causing it? Well, there's only 3 things that could cause it. 4 things. The top of resistor R134, which is where I have my test lead attached, by the way, to trace the IRQ here with our meter. It could be that resistor, but we already replaced that. Or it could be the processor, the PIA, or the PIA. Well, let's just try replacing stuff one chip at a time. And I will start with the PIA since there's 2 of them. And I will try replacing this one first. A good many of you may be asking, why did I choose to replace this PIA? This is the one I took out. There's a simple reason. This is here, let me flip it around here, an AMI PIA. You see this logo right here by my thumb, it says AMI. These PIAs are pretty much, there's a lot of different brands of PIAs. I mean, they all do the same thing. All the 6820s and 6821s do the exact same thing, but there was several different manufacturers. This AMI manufacturer is really the worst of the bunch. Let me put it to you that way. It just seemed to be very problematic. Whenever I see these AMI PIAs in a board, it always makes me cringe. And if you're buying used ones, never buy the AMIs. But anyways, now let's watch the LED and let's watch this as I power up the test rig. We can watch it. Goes high, 5 volts. That's high. 5 volts is high. 4th flash drops down to low. 7th flash comes back up to high, 498. And now we have a game in a track mode. Excuse the sound. The sound is actually from Rolling Stones, the soundboard I'm using. But the game is in a track mode. So the problem was that AMI PIA that was causing this whole problem. So now if I put the game into test, you do the first is the lamp test. Look, our IRQ is still high. And you can see all my playfield lamps are flashing. Hit the test button again, and now we're testing the displays. Let me disconnect the speaker on this soundboard. Drive us all nuts. Hit it again, and now we're testing our solenoids. You see we're going through solenoid tests. This is each one of the numbered tips down here. In this game is Playboy. I'm actually using the ROMs for. I'm not using Kiss, but it doesn't use every one. Hit it again, and that's the sound, for which we can plug the speaker back in, and we can hear the sound test. I mean, I really don't need to hear the sound test too much. And then the last, if I press it again, is my switch test, and I can go up to my little switchboard here, which was an Alltech switchboard, and I can press this and test each one of the switches in the game. But we can see that we have a working MPU now, and the whole problem was a bad IRQ caused by a bad PIA. Well, a combination of two things: bad PIA and also this R134 resistor. That was bad too. There is one other thing I'd like to point out about this IRQ issue. A lot of people use Leon's test ROM to fix these MPU boards, and what the Leon's test ROM does is when you put it in, it's a real simple ROM and has a very short bit of code. It'll basically pulse the inputs and outputs of the PIA chips, and you can check them with a logic probe to make sure that the PIAs are functioning, all the PIA ports are functioning, which is a great thing, but it does not check the IRQ. It does nothing to the IRQ. So this board would have passed the Leon's test ROM with flying colors, but that doesn't mean that it was going to work. Obviously it didn't work, because again, Leon's chip does not test IRQ. So there you have it. Another kind of goofy thing. Not sure it was worthy of a video, but there you have it. I'm fixing an MPU board with a bad IRQ.